No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken Live, episode number 90. And please click to subscribe to this brand new independent news source. Turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Today, the biggest meltdown of the British, and let's be honest, American mainstream media since Brexit, as the US people overwhelmingly decide Donald Trump will return to the White House in the most spectacular political comeback of all time. And trust me when I say that last night was the moment the MSM died and became the true enemy of the people. In a special digest next, I'll show you all the lowlights from Emily Maitlis swearing and then storming off set in an epic Channel 4 meltdown.
And I will, I mean, I'll tell Emily off later, but because I know she started the swearing, but it may be the middle of the night in Britain, but they're still a little bit sensitive about that stuff.
To Joy Reid on MSDNC trying to claim that Florida is now a fascist state.
It's a pure Project 2025 in miniature in Florida, and that kind of extreme, sort of extremist right-wing fascist type government in Florida, does that make it a more attractive place?
To a guest on Sly News, admitting the entire channel had gone into mourning.
You know, I think, again, it's important. There's been a lot of negative commentary here, and I'm sorry to, this sort of slight atmosphere of mourning in this studio, and I apologise for sort of puncturing it. But, of course there are question marks about Trump, and they're legitimate question marks. I think it's fair. You talk about guardrails, and, his behaviour has been extremely reprehensible. But I think it's also worth trying to understand why this has happened.
Mention Rory Stewart, Tom Bradby, and James O'Brien. This is going to be so much fun, folks. Also, coming up on the show today, why Trump's election is a massive boost to Nigel Farage and should spell the end of Britain's incompetent Foreign Secretary David Lammy, who once branded the president a Nazi. And it's squeaky bum time in Montecito as the possibility of Prince Harry being deported just stepped up a gear. And I've got the best superstar panel today to explore it all. From Michigan, Father Calvin Robinson. From Florida, Samantha Markle. And with me on British soil, British MAGA mama, June Slater. Then, in the uncancelled after show, Lady Colin Campbell joins me live for her incomparable analysis. And some big news for you, the uncancelled after show now broadcast exclusively, daily and on demand via the free speech platform Substack, which you can Google if you just type Dan Wootton Outspoken Substack, or get to right now by visiting www.outspoken.live. Please subscribe to a monthly paid membership for access to the after show, my exclusive reporting and columns. Most importantly, it's a safe space free of censorship, and your support at just £5 a month not only gives you 30 minutes of extra content every single weekday, it allows me to continue making this independent daily news show. It's a big one today too. Let's go. Last night, the corrupt, crooked, and biased MSM finally died. And we got to witness the collapse live in real time on both sides of the Atlantic as so-called journalists who have spent decades pretending to be impartial purveyors of truth allowed their guards to drop so significantly that they are now forever exposed as activists. And are so out of touch they had no idea it was going to end this way. Indeed, they thought they were being so clever.
With candidates both making history in their own way.
Harris, the first black woman to run, Trump, the first convicted felon.
Oh, good work, Sly News. Isn't that great fun? But it wouldn't take long for one of their guests to expose them for being in mourning once the result was announced.
I think, again, it's important. There's been a lot of negative commentary here, and I'm sorry to, sort of slight atmosphere of mourning in this studio, and I apologise for sort of puncturing it. But, of course there are question marks about Trump, and they're legitimate question marks. I think it's fair. You talk about guardrails, and, his behaviour has been extremely reprehensible. But I think it's also worth trying to understand why this has happened.
Channel 4 had the sanctimonious lefty hag Emily Maitlis and unbearably smug Krishnan Guru Murthy to set things up for a Trump defeat. And somehow the channel managed to convince the former UK PM Boris Johnson to be their whipping boy alongside a porn star whose entire living came from shagging Trump for cash and then pretending that she's now holier than thou.
As I detail extensively in Unleashed, the book.
I don't know why it's funny. I mean, I don't know why it's funny. You just heard what he's like as a character, and I'm asking you.
Because I don't accept your analogy at all. I think it's very dangerous and sloppy to make analogies between the US and the UK.
No, it's not between the US and the UK.
Model yourself on him at all.
And I think that people compare Brexit with the advent of Donald Trump. Brexit was actually supported by people across the political spectrum.
You're not answering the question. Just go back to the question.
I'm answering the question directly.
It's about
Brexit was
institutions and behaviour, isn't it?
And I believe that in my administration we had complete respect for institutions.
Not the Parliamentary Standards Committee, not the Privileges Committee, not Parliament.
We had respect for the decision of the...
And this went on and on and on and on, with Maitlis getting more and more and more aggressive until Boris tried to fight back.
Here's Channel 4 News, run by Ian Katz, sitting here during the same old stunt that you tried in 2004, where they're taking a massively skewed approach to a US election.
I'm asking you to account for your actions.
Hang on, I'm not standing for election here. Am I, Stormy? Am I standing for election?
I have a simple question. Do you have?
If you want me to stand,
children?
I have, yes.
But would you leave your daughter alone with Donald Trump?
Look, I mean.
But the whole reason I asked the question.
I don't see why. I don't see why not.
But the pathetic lefty stunts weren't over yet. Lefty Scottish actor Brian Cox, from Succession, he's all of a sudden been determined to be an acceptable political commentator on an apparently serious news broadcaster.
And we have to make sure that he doesn't get in, because he's a monster. He really is. He's crazy. He's insane. He wants to be a dictator. I mean, it's all been so clear what he's been talking about. I don't know why the American people aren't listening to him. Well, some of the American people clearly are listening to him, but a lot of them aren't. The kind of nonsense that he's been talking over the last... I think he's lost it, quite frankly. I think he's deeply mentally unstable. And I think he has been for some time. This is not a man who should be the President of the United States. Absolutely not. He's unreliable. He's a convicted felon. I'm horrified, for instance, I'm a lapsed Catholic, and I read today that he's got huge support among Catholic voters, and I find that extraordinary that Catholic voters would vote for such a man who is, in terms of the Catholic Church, a big sinner, a big, big sinner. So I find it all rather depressing and curiously ridiculous.
And all of this was designed to give the out-of-touch elite the boost they felt they deserved before an inevitable Kamala Harris victory.
What I would say is that to say that Donald Trump is a fascist or a monster, or that he wants to become a dictator, I think
he said it himself, Boris. He said it himself. Why don't you listen to his words? He actually said it himself.
I think.
He said it himself.
Everybody,
he said he wanted to run the show.
They have truly lost their minds. But the Americans knew not to take that sort of bull. And Sean Spicer, former Trump spokesperson, managed to completely own arrogant Maitlis.
Because they were kicking people out of line. That's a fact.
Do you not think if there will be a fair process?
Emily,
I'm just asking you, do you think there will be a fair process in Pennsylvania?
Just
answer that, because you've started
to say you're worried about Pennsylvania. We're already seeing one county in the middle of Pennsylvania having a court order to stay open until 10 o'clock tonight because of issues with ballots. So I hope so. I believe that's the case. There's been a lot of reforms since 2020 that were made. And I'm hoping for that. I want the American people, I want everyone to walk away on both sides tonight and say we had a fair and free election You know, if you're...
The result.
Can I just finish for once, Emily?
I'm just asking, will you accept the result?
Yeah, absolutely, I will. There, is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Let's pause.
But then things turned, and they turned oh so beautifully. The Americans, it was becoming clear, had decided to reject woke in the most spectacular fashion and change history. So, of course, sticking with Channel 4, Stormy, Trump Shagger, and Maitlis were left speechless.
They think that Trump has a 71% chance of winning the presidency. Stormy.
I'm not surprised. What can you say? I mean,
we can say it's too early to say it's a result, but this is just
Christina,
the Hill's
do you
decision.
still think it's the red?
Oh, honestly, you can inject me with that clip. So cute, one of the best meltdowns of all time, as Maitlis ended up swearing consistently and then storming off set.
And I will. I mean, I'll tell Emily off later, but because I know she started the swearing. But it may be the middle of the night in Britain, but they're still a little bit sensitive about that stuff.
When Colin Brazier, the ex-GB News presenter, woke up, he posted, "This morning, the mainstream media in the UK is clearly struggling to hide its disdain for tens of millions of Trump voters, just as they did for the millions of Britons who backed Brexit." And no one human being represented that better than the former Conservative, he's really not, MP Rory Stewart, who had been so confident in Kamala's victory. He'd pledged to bet £100,000 on her winning. Watch.
Incredibly confident that Kamala Harris is going to win this, and win this by a large margin. And I would bet £100,000.
Oh, Lord.
I'm very, very confident Kamala Harris will win, and I think the odds are ridiculous. I think the fact that they're favouring Trump so much don't reflect your big point. The number one fact that I think all that really matters is, apart from my belief that the polling companies have panicked and their models are broken, is that women support Kamala Harris, young women, much more than young men. So we've talked about this. There's a kind of 16-point lead amongst young women in Pennsylvania, where Trump has a 17-point lead amongst young men. And all you need to know is young women are much more likely to vote than young men.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all we need to know, is it, Rory? During one of the most awkward live broadcasts in the history of media, the worst political pundit in the UK, who'd been flown out to New York for the occasion, started doing all sorts of mental arithmetic alongside an equally perturbed Alistair Campbell.
You know, I think, again, it's important. There's been a lot of negative commentary here, and I'm sorry to, this sort of slight atmosphere of mourning in this studio, and I, apologise for sort of puncturing it. But, of course there are question marks about Trump, and they're legitimate question marks. I think it's fair. You talk about guardrails, and, his behaviour has been extremely reprehensible. But I think it's also...
It's all turned out to be wrong, completely wrong. I don't think, though, that I was fundamentally wrong because I'm patronising towards people. I never felt that. I never felt that as a politician in Britain. I didn't feel I was patronising towards my Brexit voting constituents. I think I was wrong because I'm an optimist. And I hate the idea of being right pessimistically. I think you can be a false prophet and right. You can align yourself with the worst instincts of humanity. You can assume that everything's going to hell in a handbasket, or you can hope. And my bet on Kamala Harris was a bet on the American people, it was a bet on liberal democracy, it was a bet against populism, and it was a bet on hope.
Never listen to these people again. People like the fake news agent who have no idea what's going on with the people, so their punditry is worthless. And can we just soak in the expression on their faces? Oh, I love that. Now, watching woke ITV as the realisation of a Trump victory dawned was equally satisfying.
We're able to pull it out, but that's where the campaign still is like, everybody just calm down, because we didn't need Georgia, didn't need North Carolina to win. But if we can hold on to those other 3 states in the upper Midwest, then Kamala Harris can still win.
I mean, we still don't have a lot of Michigan in. Only about a third is in. Pennsylvania, we know, of course, they're going to be counting some of those mail-in ballots through the night. Wisconsin's still waiting to get it in, but as I'm looking again at the New York Times legal projections, which we've cautioned a lot on that, they say that there's a 66% chance Trump's going to win Wisconsin, a 70% chance Trump is going to win Pennsylvania, and a 66% chance that Trump is going to win Michigan.
What we're looking at now is the very real possibility that Trump sweeps all 7 swing states. I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
And wins the popular vote.
And wins the popular vote.
And it happened. So Tom Bradby, the left-wing presenter who is BFFs with Prince Harry, actually then went on air and accused Trump of being a fascist.
And all the rest of it. There will be a lot of people watching back home who saw what General Kelly said, who saw what General Milley said, and just will not be able to conceive that the most powerful democratic country in the world has elected somebody who people closest to him called a fascist. Now,
some,
yeah,
to be fair.
Yeah. But just setting aside hyperbole for a minute, are there reasons to worry about what a President Trump might do in a democratic sense? Is that overstated? And if there is reason to worry, what would that worry be directed at? I mean, he's not really gonna, try and change the Constitution and run for a 3rd term, I wouldn't have thought.
We think?
No.
And he must never be taken seriously again after that. But even though all of X had known the result for hours, the MSM networks couldn't bring themselves to declare for Trump. So it was actually left to Newsmax to call it first.
All right, Newsmax projecting Trump taking Pennsylvania, 51 to 48%.
Well, that means he's the next president of the United States because those 19 votes added to what he has would put him at 270.
This isn't.
So Donald Trump, according to our projections,
we are calling it
124 of the United States.
It's Newsmax projecting President Trump. President Trump has been reelected.
And then Fox News, they went for it second.
The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
The former president's comeback will be complete with a win in Wisconsin, a state that he narrowly lost 4 years ago. He is now the 2nd president in U.S. history to win non-consecutive terms. The first was Grover Cleveland in the late 1800s. Senator J.D. Vance will become the 50th vice president of the United States. Voters express deep frustration with the Biden administration, and former President Trump and the future President Trump overperformed in urban areas, particularly with men, proving that the strategy that they doubled and tripled down on over the course of the last few months absolutely succeeded and brought him back to the White House.
And then, after history was made, all hell broke loose in the elite class, especially, bizarrely, in the UK. The unhinged Carol Vorderman, who hours earlier had been confidently predicting a Kamala victory, thanks to some sort of crappy video by will.i.am. Well, she was the first domino to fall. She posted reluctantly on CNN, "Looks like Trump will win. God help America. And the UK too, when he introduces tariffs against us very soon. Right-wingers voted Brexit to cut back UK trading with the euro market and cheered on a man who'll cut back trade with USA. Well done. But the boats, or should I say the bait? But they were all to follow. They were all to follow. So you know James O'Brien has just lost the plot recently, very red-faced. But here he was back in 2021, predicting that Trump was finished.
Time I ask it. I know he's finished now, he's gone, but Trumpism,
the corruption of truth, the corruption of observable reality, that doesn't disappear with Trump. Millions and millions of people still believe the lies he tells them. And I don't understand it. I've never understood it. You know, my theory is that it all comes down to racism, stroke white supremacism, call it what you will. But that's not a very reassuring thought, even if it turns out to be true.
Oh, he's finished, is he, O'Brien? Can you imagine the actual breakdown in the LBC studio this morning? Well, actually, we don't have to imagine it. We can just watch it.
It doesn't matter enough. The fact that he tried to steal the last election, the fact that he was prepared to subvert the entire democratic process up to and including the assault, a potential assault upon his own vice president, the disowning of his most senior former colleagues, the condemnation of his former military chief, the use of the F word by his former chief of staff, the condemnation from his own national security advisor. None of it mattered. Brackets enough.
It didn't matter because it was bullshit. It wasn't true. It was an MSM creation. But look, if you think things are mad here in the UK, they went totally wild in the USA, with Joy Reid of MSDNC accusing Florida, you're not going to believe this, of becoming a fascist state.
It's a pure Project 2025 in miniature in Florida. And that kind of extreme, sort of extremist, right-wing, fascist-type government in Florida, does that make it a more attractive place?
I repeat, the MSM died last night. CNN soon decided the result was both sexist and racist. They love exhausting identity politics as an excuse for everything. I wonder how they'll explain the massive swing of black men to Donald Trump, or the massive swing of Latino voters to Donald Trump. But of course, CNN, they live in another reality. Because it's this sort of coverage, and this interview, oh my goodness, it's embarrassing, but it's this type of coverage that they had been running with for weeks.
Who did you vote for today?
I voted for Kamala Harris.
Why is that?
I have 3 daughters, 4 children overall, and women's rights is pretty important to them and my daughters. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional about that. I didn't think that I was going to do that, but, just their bodies, their choice type of a mentality. I want them to grow up in a world that's welcoming to everybody. So yeah, that's why I cast my vote today.
Surely that's not a straight man. And what about all of those celebrities who were going to swing it for Kamala? So my thoughts and prayers today are with Taylor Swift, Beyonce, J-Lo, Cardi B, and virtually every other close friend of P. Diddy. Once again, their endorsements of the Democratic nominee fell flat on their face. Guess what, guys? After Epstein, we're not going to trust Hollywood celebrities ever again. In fact, the only endorsements that really seemed to matter in this cycle were the independent media sensations Elon Musk and Megyn Kelly. We must never forget that Oprah Winfrey told us this one day before the polls closed.
If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. And let me be very clear. If you do not make sure that the people in your life can get to the polls, that is a mistake. Deciding not to decide, that is most definitely a vote to let other people control your future. Now, we all know what we're voting against. So I want to end by reminding you about a few things that we're voting for. We are voting to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States. We are voting for values. We are voting for values and integrity. We are voting for the right to choose what happens to our own bodies.
You can't keep lying to us, even if you're Oprah Winfrey. We are sick of it. We are fed up with it. No more. No more. You're lying. So yesterday did not just mark the beginning of the end of woke, it marked the end of the mainstream media pretending to be real journalists. And I'm here for it. God bless you, President Trump. Now, the Superstar panel. And what a panel we have today. Live from Michigan, Father Calvin Robinson. Live from the UK, June Slater, the MAGA mama. And live from the fascist state of Florida, according to Joy Reid, Samantha Markle, of course, sister of the Duchess of Sussex, but most importantly in the context of today, Trump supporter. So Sam, there you are in the fascist state of Florida. Have you had your champagne yet?
Oh my God. Well, we are here in the fantastic free state of Florida now, one of many free states. We are sleep deprived, but we are energized. Oh my God. And fascists? Wait a minute, where did she get that? No, that was just crazy. And I think that kind of fear mongering is pretty typical of Democrats. You know, I think, yeah, they have a right to go into mourning because their narrative of the New World Order, their narrative of infringing on the Constitution and censoring free speech. They want to call us fascists. We have salient examples, from vilifying parents who don't want their children indoctrinated and having the DOJ and the FBI knock on their doors, to having, students groomed, to having parents' rights taken away. Their children could be gender mutilated or transitioned without their consent. Who's the fascist, Joy Reid? I mean, we are elated because the fascism perpetrated and pushed, and we were afraid of that, by the left, many of whom you and I know, right, are probably being paid by globalists to push that narrative for control, for tyranny and totalitarian control. They lost. And why are they pissed off? Why are they in mourning? Because they might have to pay back some of the money they took to keep pushing that narrative. We are not the fascists. We defend the Constitution. We are sighing, we are screaming relief today and elated that we are not the fascists, that we've ended fascism.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah, globalism also hopefully died last night. Calvin Robinson, Father Calvin, is that a MAGA t-shirt?
This is a MAGA t-shirt. We're full team MAGA today. It's amazing out here in Michigan, honestly. I've just been downtown.
Tell me everything, Calvin. What was it like last night?
Oh my gosh. I can't remember the last time I slept, but it is absolutely fantastic. So here in Michigan, we currently have 98% of the votes counted. So there's 2% they're dragging their feet over. But I'm hearing from the people on the ground that we have taken Michigan, that Michigan is going to turn red or has turned red, and the Democrats are just doing whatever they can to stall it. So that's fantastic news, because if you remember last time around, Michigan was one of the places where there were 17 precincts where there were more votes than registered voters. So there's some dodgy activities. This is the place, in fact, where they closed up the windows so you couldn't see inside, so that we couldn't count the votes. So this is a state that is very dodgy. The Democrats are cheaters outright. And so this time the Republicans have been keeping an extra close eye on them. And so I think this is why it's going to be one of the last states to be counted. But it looks like it's gone red.
June Slater, can we talk about the epic MSM meltdown, especially bizarrely here in the UK?
Well, it was to be expected because they've been like this since Brexit. They cannot accept democracy. It's as simple as that. When the people themselves, I've been using my YouTube to sort of motivate people to not give up for the future of Britain, really. And obviously what happened in America is a massive conduit for us to continue fighting. The general feeling from the public is one of elation. What really creases me, I've got 200,000 followers on Facebook and about 1,000 actual friends, many of which don't take any notice of my politics. They listen to the mainstream media. They never pass comment. I put post after post trying to give information out. And what's amazed me today, these people who never take part in anything that I provide for them, I'm giving a counter narrative that's stifled by the mainstream media. All of a sudden today they're putting posts on like, apologies to my American friends, and a picture of the Statue of Liberty with its head in its hands. And I think, who are you people? You've not even bothered to learn anything. You've not bothered to absorb any new information. And yet all of a sudden you feel confident to come out and basically feel sorry for people who simply exercise their right to democracy. And whilst we've still got hold of it, this just makes it so much easier for Britain now. And the MSN, it's finished. It's the shift has happened. We shouldn't call it the MSN. We should call it the legacy media, because that's all they're hanging on to. And there's absolutely no way that President Trump's only got 275 college votes. It's at least 312. You'll see. Anyway, it'll come out. They're just stalling. I mean, Emily Maitlis, Channel 4, these people, they were just the same with Brexit, which was massive in our country, and they don't want it. How you can call someone who stands up, let's say how long the war in Ukraine lasts when President Trump takes office, TikTok, because that'll just finish. He doesn't want war, he wants trade deals. He wants to talk, he'll even negotiate with Lammy. He'll even put it all behind him and do trade deals. He won't hold a grudge, he's a businessman. And we have got stupid politicians in our country, even worse media. I watched Bev Turner this morning. She was elated because she's one of us. She believes what we believe. But even so, GB News will be stifled into producing a narrative. The polls, I said about 2 weeks ago, he'll win. Don't listen to the media. He'll win. Don't listen to the media. I called it right in 2019 when they said it was neck and neck with Corbyn. The reason I'm bringing this up, the only reason I know that is because I look at what people are telling me. I look at my followers, my messages. The media don't. They rely on the pollsters. The pollsters are giving bad information
and
out.
they captured a lot of them. Because the polls are often used to perpetuate a fake narrative. I mean, without going into the weeds, there was an Iowa poll, and the MSM told us this was the gold standard poll, that showed Kamala Harris ahead by 3 points. I think Trump won in the end by something like 8 points. The polls are often used to try and shift a narrative. By the way, this was one of the best moments of yesterday, speaking of fake news. Kamala Harris, pretending she's on the phone to a supporter, holds the phone up. No, she's not, because she's actually taking a camera shot, which is impossible to do when you're on a call. So the lies are all over the place. But breaking right now, growing pressure on the UK government after Donald Trump's election. That is because the Foreign Secretary of the UK, David Lammy, Loony Lanny, as I call him, has previously described Trump as a neo-Nazi, women-hating fascist. Of course, while Lammy is on the way down, there is now a massive stake in the ground for Nigel Farage, who is the only UK politician absolutely in the corner of Donald Trump. And making her first appearance at PMQs today, the new Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, decided to turn Lammy's previous criticism of Trump into a major political issue for the under fire British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Watch this.
I will be taking a different approach to the last opposition by being a constructive opposition. And so I would like to start by congratulating President-elect Trump on his impressive victory this morning. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary met him in September. Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order. And if he did not apologise, will the Prime Minister do so now on his behalf?
And Nigel Farage is in pole position to benefit from this nightmare scenario that Labour now finds itself in. Farage, he was at Mar-a-Lago last night, broadcasting with Tucker Carlson behind the scenes and making it very clear how significant this result is.
Tell us, I mean, is it an overstatement to say that the rest of the world is watching this really, really carefully?
Oh, you bet your life. I mean, this is big. You think it's just about America. No, it's much bigger than that. It's about leadership of the Western world. It's about what signal gets sent to dictators all over the world who are launching wars, causing problems, whether we talk Middle East, whether we talk Ukraine, whether we talk potentially what might happen with China, Taiwan, etc. This is, I tell you something, this is a very, very important moment. Just think in the last 4 years, what has happened around the world?
Now, will the UK government be able to put politics to one side and actually realise that Farage is the person who could actually be doing brilliant things in terms of utilising his relationship with Trump? And Farage is open to that. Watch what he had to say overnight.
Despite being a political opponent of Starmer and Blair in many, many ways, what I do know is that our relationship with America is crucial to our future survival.
And a lot of people asking me this question. Jim has sent this one in. Would Nigel be taking a new role in the new year with Donald Trump? You've intimated there that you're certainly willing to help any kind of deal that the government can do. Does that mean that you're kind of you would be officially or unofficially a kind of a bridge between the US government and the UK government?
I decided in June to stand in Clacton at the general election to try and become their MP. That happened, and that is my primary duty, right? So I'm not going to give up being the MP for Clacton to take on any ambassadorial role of any kind at all. Let's be clear about that. But behind the scenes, I could, if wanted, I think be very helpful.
And I mean...
Now, on the left, there has been this feeling for some time that, oh, Farage isn't really tight with Trump. He just talks this up. Trump doesn't really care about Farage. Well, guess what? Literally one night before the election, the most important election in history, Trump decided to stop talking about US issues at one of his final rallies to talk about, you guessed it, Nigel Farage.
You have a man from Europe, I don't know if he's here, I saw him backstage. What he did was, and what he is doing is sort of what we did a few years ago. He's doing a great job. He's always been my friend for some reason. He liked me, I liked him. And he's shaking it up pretty good over there. He was the big winner of the last election in the UK, and he's a very spectacular man, very highly respected, Nigel Farage. He's a little bit of a rebel, but that's good. You know, that's good. Don't change, Nigel.
I don't think Nigel knows how to change. But in the last hour, the independent journalist Isabel Oakeshott has revealed that the Labour government has already rejected overtures by Nigel Farage.
I can reveal that some months ago, Nigel Farage, putting country before petty politics, actually privately offered to provide the Prime Minister with something of an entree to the Trump camp. As I understand it, basically, Starmer did nothing about that. Well, what a muppet. You know, why wouldn't you take up an offer like that? It would have positioned him much better than he's positioned now. There's a whole bunch of implications now for the UK on everything from net zero to the Chagos Islands to immigration here.
And the thing is, again, for anyone who says Nigel isn't really in the inner circle, this is literally American TV moments before Trump went on stage to give his major address, and there is Nigel Farage speaking to our good friend, actually, an Outspoken regular, Lady Victoria Harvey. She's there in the MAGA hat, so he's right back in the fold. And coming back to my superstar panel, June Slater in the UK, Samantha Markle in Florida, Father Calvin Robinson in Michigan. And June Slater, the thing is, there is a real opportunity here for the UK via Farage, but there's no way Labour are going to take that on board, given how we know Lammy feels about Trump.
Well, ego plays a big part in this. And unfortunately, I think Lammy's ego is as big as his biomass index. Sorry about that. But, you know, these people are fueled by ego. They wouldn't keep doing all these professionally done videos if they weren't. And what you've got to remember with Nigel Farage, where I see a really bright future for democracy, is the Americans have reacted to unsuitable government for 4 years. We've only just got a real taste of unsuitable government. It's been pretty bad, but not bad enough to wake the sleepers up. Now it's waking the sleepers up because this government has hit pensioners. They've taken the winter fuel allowance away. They've hit the descendants because they're taxing inheritance tax on farms and small businesses. They've also hit the students because they want to pay for tuition. They've hit every single generation. They've hit homeowners. They've hit renters. They've hit people in work. They've hit people on benefits. What's left apart from animal charities, which will be hit anyway with ULEZ zones? This government is hitting everyone. So we're only just at the beginning of 4 years or 5 years of bad management. And at the end of that time, all those 97 seats where Nigel Farage came second, and it doesn't matter whether you like him and you don't like him, you think he's a narcissist or he's too big a personality. You need that big personality to push it forward. You need someone who appeals to the general public, not little fractured political parties. What we need to do is realise that this man has the capabilities of getting on mainstream media TV, talking to the country and doing what Donald Trump has done for America. He can be the man next time because 97 seats made Reform Party candidates come second. If we can change that into a win, and now that people can see there is a change, there is a shift, a massive, massive shift, we have a chance. Get out and vote. Our duty now is to talk to our friends and neighbours to make the apathetic people get out and vote. Don't waste your time. Voting has never been more important.
I agree with all of that. Father Calvin Robinson, though, doesn't the UK government have a major issue? You surely cannot have a foreign secretary who genuinely thinks the leader of the free world is a neo-Nazi fascist and woman hater.
No. And I agree with June's premise, but I don't agree with that it's actually possible. I was trying to find the last time the UK government was not Conservative or not Labour. I think it's been over 100 years. We're stuck in a two-party system, and it doesn't matter how many votes Reform get across the country unless they can win seats. They've shown they can only win a handful of seats with 4 million votes. So I'm not convinced that Reform could win a general election or Nigel Farage could become Prime Minister, despite how big his personality or character is. And even that, you know, the left see him as a Nazi, just as they see Donald Trump as a Nazi. And so he's not getting that mainstream vote. The right no longer support him because he's saying things like it's impossible for mass deportation. So I don't see the same movement happening in the UK with Farage that we saw over here with Donald Trump, unfortunately. Maybe in the long term, who knows, because there's 4 years to go and there's a lot of time for Labour to destroy the country and for people to decide that actually something needs to be done and anyone needs to be chosen, so we could go with whoever's the loudest at the time. But you know, the Conservatives have just elected a new leader too, so who's to say that Kemi couldn't be that uniting voice eventually? But I suppose
today. She did well in PM.
She did. She's very good at debating. She's very good at rhetoric. If she could actually put some good policies together, maybe she could convince people in the centre. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not that optimistic about the state of things in the UK right now, but looking over here, I'm seeing the first things they're going to do is clamp down on all the transing of kids, you know, the chemical castration, the bodily mutilation, that's going to end. They're going to close the borders. They're going to provide legal routes for immigration and shut down all the illegal routes. They're going to deport all the foreign criminals. We're going to see a lot of action over here. And hopefully that will show people in the UK, you know, the contrast of how bad Labour is compared to how good things could be under small c Conservative governments.
Sam Markle, the thing is, you probably haven't heard of Looney Lammy, right? Because he's just got this job and he's a bit of a nutcase. But what I want to do, Sam, is just read out to you some of his comments about Trump. And then I'll get you to respond because I think you'll be genuinely shocked. This is not like minor league trolling. Just let me read out some of the things he said. Okay, so this was a post on X, but then Twitter. He said, "You are truly beneath contempt. You are just a troll. Show some bottle, please, PM. Cancel the state visit and tell Trump where to get off." Then he said, if I have to chain myself to the door of number 10, this black man will do it. Always about race, isn't it? He described him as a liar and a coward, a man who wants to see Europe divided once again. Trump is not fit to lick the boots of our fallen soldiers. Then he said that, he compared him to Hitler, saying Hitler said the same about Germany in a speech in February 1940. In fact, he said it on numerous occasions. It was one of the underlining imperatives of his political movement. We see you, Mr. Trump. Then he called him deluded, dishonest, xenophobic, and narcissistic, said that he wasn't fit to hold public office. I mean, this is absolutely crazy stuff. Then he called him the leader of a cult of white supremacists and described him as spreading fascism like wildfire. I mean, bigotry. He said if Trump did GCSEs, he wouldn't make it to sixth form. It went on and on and on and on and on. This guy cannot be maintaining the special relationship, Sam Markle. I mean, do you see what I'm saying now, Sam? This is not minor league stuff.
No, but it seems very typical. I mean, let's face it, the bigger the lie, the bigger the buzz. And so the radical left have been using fear-mongering. They've been using projection and gaslighting, deflection tactics, when we really see that they've been the ones who have been employing Nazi tactics, censorship, demonizing of people who wanted to defend the truth and justice. So, I mean, he can call Trump all the names that he wants to, but the bottom line is President Trump already demonstrated when he was in office, when we had secure borders, when we had healthy foreign relationships, when we had a strong economy, healthy trade relationships. He's already proven it. And so the left now are totally acting like that never happened, like he's a first-time driver on an IndyCar track. And we all know that's not true. So it's a really dysfunctional coping strategy of the left, and they can exhaust themselves. But we all saw the map turn red, and that is the will of the people. That represents we the people, and let's hope that it's contagious globally, because clearly Putin reportedly wants to speak to President Trump and start negotiations. I think the world wants this and is excited.
End the war. I mean, I know, Calvin Robinson, I don't need to ask you about that. You've been wanting to end the war from the moment the war began. End the war. Absolutely. But look, can all four of you stand by, please? And Sam, I'll ask you in just a moment, what are going to be the repercussions for your sister Meghan and her husband, Prince Harry? Will he now be deported? But first, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's latest release, the Chairman Pro package. The all-in-one set includes everything you need to recreate the luxury of a professional shave right at home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman package has you covered. First up, we have the star of the show, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. This isn't just any shaver. It comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. You have the skin-safe 4-blade foil for that close, smooth shave when you're looking to go completely clean. And you have the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep a bit of that rugged look. Both heads designed with skin-safe technology to help reduce razor burn and irritation so your skin feels smooth and comfortable after every shave. And a standout feature is the Flex Tech Adjust technology, which ensures a superior shave by allowing both blades and the pivoting head to seamlessly adapt to the unique contours of your face. It's gentle on the neck area. I can tell you, I use it. Here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof, so you can use it in the shower as well. And with up to 75 minutes of runtime, you don't have to worry about running out of juice either. But that's not all. The package also includes the Power Shave Gel to get the ultimate wet shave experience. It's packed with skin-soothing ingredients. And to finish off, we've got the Face Shave Soother, which is an aftershave serum and a real game changer. So get the Chairman Pro package today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. head over to www.manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide. I'm one of them who trust Manscaped by using the code Outspoken for 20% off and free shipping. That's www.manscaped.com using the coupon code Outspoken. But now, back to the show. And breaking right now, panic in Montecito as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle worry that Trump back in the White House could result in a potential deportation order as the court case into whether Harry lied on his immigration documents about entering the US over illegal drug use could actually see the Trump administration take action that was never going to happen under President Biden, who protected him and wanted him to stay in the UK. So first to Meghan Markle's sister, Samantha Markle, who joins us live from Florida, the fascist state of Florida, according to MSDNC. So Sam, this is an absolute nightmare for your Democratic sister. Of course, Sam, we should clarify, you're a Trump supporter. Maybe that's one of the reasons why she cut contact with you in the way that she did, because we know she's one of those sort of hard left Hollywood type celebrities. But do you think the Trump administration now could actually end up deporting Prince Harry?
I do, and I think it would only be right under the Constitution. I mean, let's face it, IPP status doesn't give you the right to run rogue, violate the United States Constitution on continuum, whether it's, whether you lie on your immigration papers reportedly, that has yet to be disposed, whether you ignore the Constitution, run around and dabble in American politics using royal titles, which is undue influence. And then reportedly, there are stories of Archwell being involved with backing Act Blue. And so as a charitable organization, they have a legal obligation to remain nonpartisan. So there are several things going on. I think it could get sticky for them, and in my opinion, appropriately. And I don't think, I can't speak for him, I don't think Donald Trump, President Trump, is going to cut them any slack because nobody else could get away with it. I mean, I think we're talking about some pretty egregious infractions here. So with that said, they have a right to be concerned, but maybe they should have thought of that before they seemingly did all of this.
I mean, Father Calvin Robinson, the issue is that Prince Harry was very much protected by the Biden administration. He had a relationship with Biden that dated back to the Obama administration and the Invictus Games. Now, I'm not saying for a single second that this is going to be the top of Donald Trump's priorities. And in fact, Calvin, he probably doesn't want to accept King Charles, a man who he's known for many, many decades and who he has great respect for. But isn't the issue, Father Calvin, the fact that if this does get through the judiciary, and we know that Heritage Foundation are taking this case and they are appealing the decision in the case, and it ends up getting to a Trump-appointed judge, that's where there's a real risk for Harry. It's not necessarily that Trump himself will personally intervene, but it's that a Trump-appointed judge is far less likely to be sympathetic to the cause of Prince Harry lying on his immigration documents. Sorry, Calvin. Can you just unmute yourself? We just missed that. Can you just start again?
Oh, sorry, I don't know how
there
that
you are. Great, got you now.
I don't
Start
think
again,
it's
please,
even
Calvin.
that. I think this is what we're going to see is a non-partisan result. So the Democrats are very prejudiced and biased, and they rule in their own favor because that's what they do. They're cheaters. I don't think that the Republicans are like that. I think all we'll see now is that there'll be a fair trial, and the right and proper result will come out of it. There will be justice. If the Heritage Foundation are supposed to win this case, they'll win this case. Whereas if the Democrats were in office, they would have leaned on the judiciary and made sure that their celebrity friends got away with whatever crime they may or may not have committed. So all we're going to see now is a fair trial.
June Slater, what do you make of this one? Because the more I think about it, June, the more I think there's absolutely no way Harry told the truth on his immigration documents. I mean, Calvin, you've just gone through it, right? There's no way you're going to say when you're trying to enter a country and you've got an immigration lawyer, oh yeah, by the way, I took lots of illegal drugs with Courtney Cox in Hollywood. So we don't know for sure, but the 99% chances that he probably did lie in his documents, June.
Well, I think President Trump is a pretty reasonable guy. He's an Anglophile. He loves our country. Like you say with Prince Charles, I think Calvin's right. I think due process will take place and it will be by the book, but not harsh. I think there'll be I don't think it'll be something that's on his list of priorities, as Calvin said. I wouldn't like to call this one. I don't mind calling the election because I said he'd win. But I think with this one, you know, you don't know if sentiment creeps in. You know, the royal family he loved the Queen. Will he just see Prince Harry as her grandson, or will he just leave it to other people to, you know, inflict the correct punishment? I'm not sure. I wouldn't like to call this one. I think Calvin's probably got it about right. I'm not sure. I don't understand the Constitution well enough and how they can implement it, because we have to sit in our country watching the Bill of Rights and the Magna Carta get trashed every day of the week.
Well, the thing that, look, but what I'm absolutely certain of, June, is that if this were you, if this were me, we'd be gone. Okay, that I'm completely certain of. I have no doubt about that. But Sam, I think there is a possibility that Trump's hatred, let's be honest about it, he's spoken about it a lot, his hatred, I hate to say it, Sam, is with your sister. It isn't really with Harry.
Well, you know, to that, I also have to say, I think a lot of people are, you know, sidestepping the very real fact that it is salient knowledge that using his royal title, Harry was working with the Aspen Institute, whose complete goal was to infringe on the Constitution and censor freedom of speech. He came out publicly and said free speech is bonkers. So using a royal title in that capacity carries a lot of undue influence. I do believe that President Trump and other members of the GOP were very well aware of it. I do think that it should not go unattended to. And it would have some consequences. It's really, and we've had this triumph now, the Constitution. Long live the Constitution. I mean, we see that. Thank God President Trump won, because the agenda now to silence free speech in America is quashed. And Harry's a part of that, in my opinion.
Oh my God, he massively is. I mean, he literally said he doesn't believe in the First Amendment. You're completely right. Number one, you're a member of the royal family, butt out of US constitutional issues. Number two, you don't believe in the Constitution because you love the fact that in the UK we have no true freedom of speech, because you don't want people like me to say negative things about you. The problem is, Father Calvin, though, if Trump were to do anything about this, I'm almost certain he would ask King Charles about it first. And you know what King Charles is going to say. Don't send him back to the UK. It's actually much easier for the royal family, Calvin, to have Harry in America. They don't want him back with all of the issues over security, etc., etc.
And I've heard President Trump as well as Eric say that you know, they've been long-time friends with King Charles since when he was the prince, and they've had that good relationship. And not only is it a personal relationship, but they see the importance of having a special relationship with the United Kingdom. And so if they can use this situation to build a bridge that the Labour Party is trying to tear apart, I think Donald Trump and his presidency are smart enough to do so. So I'm hoping that this is the start of a new formation of that special relationship that has been deteriorating over the last few years.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, what a day. What a day. Father Calvin Robinson, Samantha Markle, June Slater. Oh, I just have to show you, by the way, I have to show you how I watched the results last night, because, you know, I've got my partner's Scottish, and I'm a big fan of Trump Turnberry, so I decided to go for the Trump Turnberry polo. Had Domino's pizza. It was an all-American affair, and if I'm looking a little bit tired today, it's because I didn't get to bed until 8 a.m.
Wow.
Goodness me. I did an all-nighter, but I promise you I didn't have a drop of alcohol. I did a Trump. I was just drinking Diet Coke. And you know, guys, the best tweet I saw yesterday, you know how old tweets of Trump go viral every now and then? And the best old tweet I saw of Trump, it's got something like 158,000 likes now, was him saying, only fat people drink Diet Coke. And unfortunately, that is true. But look, what a day. The end of wokery, we hope and pray, from the fascist from the fascist state of Florida. Samantha Markle, you go and have a champagne. June Slater, brilliant to have you. And Father Calvin Robinson. Now, look, you know it's very important to me that we have a safe space, not patrolled by big tech, where censorship and control runs deep. So that's why we have www.outspoken.live, our membership section, where you will get half an hour of extra content every day. So at this stage, we come off YouTube and Rumble, we move to our own platform to continue our conversation in the uncancelled after show. And today, Lady Colin Campbell is in the house. So all you have to do is sign up at www.outspoken.live. We are back every weekday at 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Very excited to say the former British Prime Minister, Liz Truss, is joining us for the entire show tomorrow. Can't wait to see what she thinks about Trump's election. She's a big fan. Do hit subscribe, by the way, if you're watching now on YouTube and Rumble. Make sure you subscribe to my Substack. You can find it at www.outspoken.live or just Google Dan Wootton Outspoken Substack. I promise you, Substack is a brilliant free speech platform. That's where the after show is now available. It's a beautiful experience watching it on there. I promise to keep fighting for you. See you on the after show in just one moment.